Mr. LaFond, the other day we were walking on one of the many, many rail trails that they have all across America, former rail lines that are turned into basically, I guess you could say, trails, but like paved trails, okay? Where people ride, bougies ride their bikes, people walk, their dogs. You have old people walking. They're actually splendid. They actually go through like really nice scenic areas. I actually enjoy this phenomenon. We were walking on one the other day, and I noticed when you were walking. Obviously, walking is something that you're very sensitive to. You said, "Yeah, I can feel underneath the stone," which I thought was sounded very interesting. It's almost like a wizard. You felt the stone underneath your feet.
Well,
And just elaborating on like the idea of stone in relation to, of course, pavement, concrete, which we sort of grew up walking on, but you could feel that the foundation under these rail lines, for obvious reasons, was stone. That's just your thoughts on that a little bit.
fragile body mechanics has something to do with it, but I spent a lot of time training and fighting on concrete and asphalt, dirt and grass, so I was always really sensitive. And I spent 38 years working on concrete floors. Okay, so I've always been sensitive to surfaces. For a couple years, I worked on a driveway that was built on top of a decommissioned rail line, and I actually part of it got washed out because the water action was just so ferocious in the Pacific Northwest. And I rebuilt that. I got to see what was underneath of it. It actually took me 2 winters to do it and hundreds of hours to do 90 feet of this driveway, to take it from being sloped like this to canted like that. Okay, so the water would drain back into this pond and under the culvert instead of just washing over the road and continuing to wash it out. But when you get into that, and it really, using a pickaxe and a mattock and a shovel on that surface was really brutal, because there was a whole lot of really dense round stones, and a lot of it I think is sandstone, and there's some other stuff in there too. The effect is a surface that's harder than concrete, which is twice as hard as asphalt, and a lot harder than the Rocky Mountains, which is all rock underneath of it, but there's some other stuff in between it, and it's naturally compacted. It's not, it hasn't been smashed together by force, and there's more gaps, there's roots. In the Rocky Mountains, you got roots, working their way through the rocks and busting up the sedimentary stone and everything. So I could feel that underneath, and that's going to be there. For my money, that infrastructure, the asphalt roads are done within 50 years of people not maintaining them, at least. And the concrete roads have 100 years at the most before it's just going to be a maple forest.
Yeah.
The trees are just going to bust those things to pieces very quickly. The railroad beds, you'll have trees growing out of the side of them. But I don't see many trees working very well on the top, and I think eventually in a future 500 years from now, that's going to be what's really left of this civilization. If it pretty much went away now, is you'd have these high roads, these built up compacted stone railroad beds. And I could feel that underneath my feet, even though it looked like it should be soft, and it wasn't concrete, and it wasn't asphalt. You had compacted sand and gravel with some grass growing up there, and it was harder than concrete.
Yeah.
Okay, if you walked heavy, if you walked light, not too bad. So it was just a weird.
Well, like I noticed, the buildings made of stone. Like, for example, what is it in Baltimore? And I forgot the name of that park, by the high school. You have that water station where the trees are growing through it. It's basically falling apart. I believe it was made in like 1887. It's an inscription on there. That's all stonework. The stonework looks like it could have been made last year. Okay, you look at the dragon teeth fences that you have here in the Northeast, Baltimore, the Pennsylvania, other places. You look at these stone dragon teeth fences. They don't look like they're about to fall apart. They look probably the same as they did in the 1880s or 1890s. So stone seems to really be to really last. It's just interesting, the idea of stone.
Well, the ancients knew that. That's why we still have a lot of their stuff, and there's not going to be a lot of our stuff. It'll be the railroad beds. You'll be able to find evidence, I guess, hundreds of years from now of interstates and streets, but a lot of the asphalt streets in the cities, they're just going to become creeks and rivers because it's hollow underneath there. There's already drainage infrastructure underneath there. A lot of them are built right over top of creek beds.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about like concrete. You think about Edison. I know got into concrete. Of course the Soviets and others. The brutalist architecture, very much with the concrete. Obviously, the concrete was supposed to be painted. The only communists of any sort that actually did what they were supposed to do and paint them are the North Koreans, if you ever see their architecture. But really, concrete's really kind of lousy.
And as somebody who attempted to be a homeowner for a while, after 17 years in one house, just putting salt on the sidewalk and the porch and in the maybe 10 days each winter when we needed protection against slipping and falling on the ice. Just that and scraping the ice and the snow with shovels was destroying the concrete. It was already ready to be redone, and I had that sidewalk put in 1982 when I moved into that house. And by 1998, it was already taking damage just from that.
You are a boomer.
So,
but in terms of real quick, we got like a minute left. But like bricks, I guess bricks are sort of the intermediary. The bricks seem like they would last a little longer than concrete. Not as much as stone. I could be wrong. I'm not a mason.
I don't know enough about bricks, but there's a lot of different grades of brick.
Yeah.
And the brick being made now is, I've been told, not nearly as good as the brick that was made in the colonial era. So the bricks that are coming out now are not going to have the life that the bricks that were made of clay 300 years ago in this part of the country were. And it's just the way it goes as a society declines and the population either maintains the same or increases. The materials, the habitations, go from stone to brick to wood, to crappy wood, down to tents.
Yeah, imagine my shock.
That's just the decline. That's just the way it goes.
Well, like I said, many of your cities of the future, the near future, are going to be made of tarp. And yes, with the cardboard walkways and driveways. So
it's good enough for Genghis Khan.
That's fine. So, what? All right. So some big brain talk tonight. So we're not mixing the rum with the beer tonight. So, all right. Thank you, sir.